Hey everyone, this is Greg with On Track Physio, and today we're going to be talking about footwear and what you should be looking for in your shoes the next time you go to make a shoe purchase. So I'm going to be heading to Glacier National Park here to finish out the summer and need to look into some new shoes for walking. And so that's what kind of thought I'd talk a little bit more about what I'm looking for when I purchase a pair of shoes. Now, there's a lot of different things that you kind of look at. We're going to talk about three major ones that are very easy for you to just kind of quickly assess the quality of the shoe and how much support is there. Now, the true answer is there's not necessarily going to be many shoes that have all of these type of qualities. There's going to be a range of qualities that a shoe presents with, where it's going to be better in certain aspects of the foot and the shoe quality, and probably a little bit poor in other aspects of it. So you got to kind of figure out which one feels the best on you. So it's okay to go by feel. And what just the response to your foot and how it feels to you, and there is some subjectivity to it, so do take that into component as well too. It should feel comfortable on your foot because it's a shoe and you're going to be wearing them a lot, so you need it to be comfortable. But in general, the three things that I'm looking at is first the heel. So there should be some firmness to the heel here. If you can just fold the heel over like that and there's no support whatsoever, that's not necessarily a good thing. Now I am working kind of hard to push that over. It's not like some of the shoes that you can just kind of fold up into a banana, but it doesn't necessarily have the most support that's there. But you can see if I gently push down, you can kind of see where there's a formation of a heel counter, we call it, where it makes it a little bit harder. But again, it's not necessarily the most supportive because I can push it down. Where that helps is it just helps control the heel so it's not turning in and out quite so much. So it just puts a little bit less torque that goes on. But that turning in and out of the foot is needed to accommodate to unlevel surfaces of the ground to some capacity as well. So again, I would suggest having a fairly firm heel, but you do want some accommodation, but you definitely shouldn't just see and have the ability to kind of fold it over, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of walking and different things of that nature. The other thing too is when you look at the heel, you can find some that are very, very firm and it almost feels like it's pushing into your Achilles or it's pushing into your foot, and it just doesn't necessarily feel comfortable because it's always applying pressure there. So that's one thing to consider too. And again, going on the feel aspect of it, if it feels like it's putting too much pressure in the back of your heel and you don't necessarily like that, then potentially going with a little bit softer of one may be helpful for you as well too. So that's what I'm looking at the heel. You can see in some other shoes too, this one has a little bit better heel where I'm not able to push down quite as much. You can kind of just see it fold, but it has a support to it. Now this is an older shoe, so there is some wear, and this used to be a lot firmer than what it is currently. But so that's the other aspect of it. The heel is just finding a good middle ground for you that provides some support, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it digs into the back of your foot either. Now, if we take the shoe and we bend it at the toe, we should just see the toe bending. And then if we try to bend it in the middle, we don't necessarily want to see the middle bending like that. It should be a lot firmer than it is here at the toe. Now, you should be able to still bend it a little bit, but you don't want to, again, have the ability to just kind of fold it up like that. It's probably a little bit too loosey-goosey there. But again, have to go on feel and what are you necessarily doing as well too. If you're doing a lot of walking, a lot of standing, a lot of on your feet, then you probably need to go with a little bit more support. If you're just kind of leisurely going around the house, not a huge deal. Most people go barefoot around the house anyways. But what you're looking for, this one again, a little bit more bend at the toe box, little more firm during the middle, but I can still bend it some. You'll find shoes where you can't bend it at all in the middle too, and that again would be a little bit more supportive there. The third component is just the ability to rotate the foot in and out. So again, this is your more looser shoe here where it's very easy for me to turn it in and out. This one is a little bit harder for me to bend and twist. So more supportive of the two. Again, you need some of that capability to accommodate to unlevel surfaces. So you need some ability for the shoe to twist. But again, Depending on the nature, there's a spectrum of things. You can have these very loosey-goosey shoes, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. Somewhere in the middle ground is pretty good, but then you'll also find some shoes that really don't turn in and out. And those shoes actually are a little bit more for like people who do a lot of lateral movements in their sport. So say basketball for one, or tennis is another, is there's not a ton of motion here side to side. You can also see that there's a lot of firmness built into the outside of the shoe here too, where it's built up to the side. As compared to this shoe, again, it's very flat. So if I try to cut and move laterally, my foot's just going to slide in the shoe and put a lot of pressure into the cloth here, and it's not going to be very supportive. I'm going to lose a lot of my ability to put pressure into the ground to create force and move quickly. So if you do have a lot of lateral movements in your sport, you need a shoe that is a lot firmer and stable in that aspect. Or if you're in the gym training, doing a lot of lateral cuts or agility work as well, you need that quality in your shoe as well too, because this would be a poor shoe to be training agility in as well, because I just roll in my foot. So I see a lot of people, young athletes, kind of go to the gym with these type of shoes and they just roll their foot in the shoe all the time, and it actually puts them at a little bit more risk for an ankle sprain when they're doing agility work too. So not necessarily a good thing there. So those are the big keys to kind of just look into the shoe there. Again, there's a spectrum of what is good and bad, and some of that's going to be depending on your feel and what you feel comfortable, what your foot feels comfortable in. But those are the three qualities that I'm looking at for in a shoe too. The last thing that I'll kind of say and wrap that up with is just when you put your shoe on, it should feel like you have whole pressure foot ground contact. Shouldn't feel like you're putting an over amount of pressure on the heel. It shouldn't feel like you're kind of diving the foot down and putting all your pressure on the big toe, or it shouldn't feel like you're rolling your foot out into an ankle sprain too and putting more pressure on the lateral aspect of the shoe. You should feel equal pressure at the big toe, little toe, and heel to equally weight the foot. We don't want to build up excessive amount of pressure in other areas, so equal pressure throughout the whole foot. The last thing I'm going to do is make a little bit of a fashion statement. So here is the epitome of a perfect sandal. I call these the shoe sandal. And so what the story behind this was, this actually used to be a track shoe that I trained in, running sprints and intervals with a shoe as opposed to a track spike. And over time, it developed some wear at the big toe. So I thought, why not make these into a sandal? Total combination of breathability and support into a sandal right there, and probably one of the most comfortable things you'll ever see. So when you see Nike coming out with these in the future, I might have to trademark this a little bit sooner, just so Nike, if you're listening, get at me with it. But any woman in my life either despises me for these or just shakes their head when I put these on occasionally in the summer. But anyways, if you see these coming out in the market anytime soon from Nike, you know it was from me. So Nike, be sure to get a hold of me. Again, the most breathable and supportive sandal you'll ever find. All right, hope that was helpful, guys. Take care. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me or get in touch.